well? Welcome to the Paul Cruz Sales Agency where sales do happen. That's right. It's fun because when you produce sales, that means you're building relationships, right? And hopefully you're building profitable relationships because that should be your primary focus. I know it's mine. You know what I mean? But I want to thank you, all of you. Whatever platform you're watching this video, I want to thank you for sharing your time. And I'm going to share some very powerful content that if you take serious and you apply it, your game's going to change. Now, for those of you who watched my previous video where I talked about what is sales and are you a salesperson, I went deep into what they both mean and how you can develop it and produce more sales. What I'm going to talk about today is what selling is, what ingredients or what weapons you need to develop to become a dynamic salesperson, and more importantly, being consistent in producing sales. Because as some of you probably heard, or a lot of you have heard me say, sales is an effect of a cause. It's a destination. It's a result of an action, right? So let's dig into this. But before we dig into this topic, again, whatever platform you're watching this video, smash the like button. Please share your feedback. Let me know if you agree or disagree or what your thoughts are, what you thought about what I'm sharing with you. If you're watching this video on my channel, please hit the subscription button below, smash the like button, and share this video with others if you believe it can be helpful. Okay? Now, what I did in the previous video, I talked about what is sales, right? And as I mentioned to you, sales is a result of an action or an effect of a cause. And what is that action? What is that called? Selling. Very simple. I also talked about, are you a salesperson? What is a salesperson? In layman's term, we're all salespeople. And a salesperson is like a doctor in their profession. But in layman's term, a salesperson is a master communicator or phenomenal communicator and a phenomenal builder of relationships. So we all have business relationships. We all have personal relationships. So we are all salespeople. Just want to give you an overview of what the previous video was. Again, I encourage you to watch it. You can watch it on my channel. You can watch it on my other platform. I promise you it'll be worth your time. And this will help you get better understanding of what I'm about to share with you right now. All right. Right now. All right, let's dig into this. Now, you have to remember this. Whenever you want to travel somewhere or you want to go somewhere, you have to know where you're starting and you have to know how to get there, right? So there's a starting point, there's an ending point, which is a destination. So what you have to do is you have to understand where you are at this moment in your sales career. Being a salesperson, being an entrepreneur, being a business owner. And you have to know how to get to that destination, which is have consistent sales or revenue or cash flow or profits, right? But the sales leads to cash flow, which is the bloodline to your business and my business and all businesses, right? Because without sales, eventually the business is going to go broke, right? Okay. So you have to know where you're at. Now, I have a method that I've been using for a long time. And I learned a method called the straight line method, which I learned over 30 years ago. I didn't create that strategy. It was someone else that did. But what I did was, over the years, I fine-tuned it and made it my own, implemented my own strategies within it. So I call it straight line track to sale, the straight line track to sales, okay, or the track. Now, in this track, it's parallel. One I call the support, which is the lower level, and one I call the resistance, which is the one above it. However, if you are in a train and the train derails and gets off the track, what happens? Gets into an accident, creates a lot of problems, right? So the same thing with selling or the selling process. if you cannot have your prospect going with you on that journey, on that straight line track to the destination, which is the sales or the relationship, you have to learn how to bring them back on that track so they don't hurt themselves. Especially if they need what you have, you got to get them to want it, right? So here are some of the ingredients that you need to understand, you need to develop, you need to grow in to become a dynamic salesperson and be consistent in producing more sales. This is what you have to do. This is what I teach. This is how I live. This is how I train my salespeople, how I help my clients that are learning how to sell. This is what I teach, and this is how I live. Okay. Now this is in no order, but these are things. It's like building a vehicle or machine. You got different parts that you put together that they all have to be running smoothly together, right? As a unit, as a team, for that machine to work effectively, right? So this is you building your own machine, which is you being a master salesperson and a dynamic salesperson and a master closer. Okay? Okay, ready? Now, the first thing, selling is about imagination. Everything starts in the mind. You have to imagine yourself being a top-notch salesperson. You have to imagine yourself being successful in every selling process or every selling phone call. Because everything starts in your imagination. It's having a vision, right? Being a dreamer. If you don't have the imagination, you're never going to be successful at selling. You're just not. So you gotta have imagination. What else is selling? What else do you need to do? You need to have, and selling is about having conviction. Just think about it. If you don't believe in what you do, and you don't have conviction in what you do and who you are, how the hell are you going to convince others? And I don't want to hear that. People don't like to be convinced or persuaded because we're all being convinced every day. We're all being persuaded every day. We're all being influenced. Matter of fact, I'm going to write that in there. Okay? Does that make sense? You must have conviction. It's very powerful. What else is selling? What else is selling? What else you must develop? What are the ingredients must you have to be a top-notch salesperson? To know how to sell, to be a dynamic salesperson. You need to know. And selling is about not only having imagination, having conviction in what you do and what you're offering, but you have to know how to tell it in a storytelling format. Those who tell the most powerful, effective stories are the most successful people in the world. No matter what industry you're in. And I don't want to hear that people don't like to hear stories. If you watch movies and you listen to music and you communicate with people and you go out and socialize and you listen to podcasts, you are hearing a story. Whether you like it or don't like it, it's up to you. But you are hearing a story and you also give stories as well. So selling is about knowing how to tell powerful stories. It's just the way it is. Take it or leave it. It's up to you. up to you. All right, what else do you need to do? Selling is about being disciplined. You see, you can have all the bells and whistles. You could be motivated, inspired, encouraged, feeling good, You can have all that. But if you're not disciplined, it means nothing. You can have motivation. But if you're not disciplined, and discipline is doing what needs to get done, whether you like it or not, whether you feel good or not, whether you have emotions or not. It should not discourage you to not doing what you need to do. So whether your feelings are hurt or something happened in your life, you have to stay disciplined to continue to move forward, because that's what selling is. And this is one of the things that you need to develop. What else is selling? Now, here's the thing. Selling is about commitment. But you can't be committed unless you're disciplined, right? One goes with the other. So you have to be committed to wanting to become a top-notch salesperson, a dynamic entrepreneur, a very successful business owner. You have to be committed. And commitment is not always when things are going well. It is when you have adversity, you have problems, you have situations. Whether you caused it or not, you have to have commitment to the destination, to the end goal, to the end game. And it all goes back to sales, because that is the ultimate destination. You're doing this because you want that. So now, why not be really good at this so you can get more of that? Does that make sense? So selling is about being committed. That's why it's hard to be a top-notch salesperson. It's not easy. It seems easy, but it's not. Think about boxers, martial artists like the UFC. These guys have to be committed. They have to be disciplined to get into that ring. Right? Does that make sense? What else is it? What else is it? Selling is about taking action. Now, the action is determined by how you think, right? Because, man, if you don't have an imagination, which means you're not thinking. And it all starts with how you think, the mindset. The mindset is going to determine what you say to yourself, what you talk about, the language. And then that transitions to action. When you put a posting on social media, whether it's a video or audio or a regular text or graphic design, you're doing that because it's a form of selling. They call it advertising. They call it marketing. Your goal is to get people to take action, to press like, comment, and also contact you so they can buy your services, right? Or your product, right? E-commerce is the same thing. So everything's about taking action. Because if no one took action, nothing will be sold. And no one will be buying. But it's about taking the right action. Does that make sense? So, what else is selling? What else is selling? Selling is understanding your profession, understanding your craft, understanding your prospect. See, I know clients that they try to advertise and market to everybody, but not everyone is their specific client. So you have to understand who your audience is. Again, I'm going to go back to the boxing analogy. You have to know who your opponent is, right? You have to know what their strengths are, what their weaknesses are. You have to know what your weaknesses are, what your strengths are, right? That's what you have to do. You have to understand the whole field like a chessboard. You got to understand the moves. That's what selling is. It's about adjustments. It's about transition. It's about pushing, asking questions a certain way, knowing how to deal with rebuttals, determining what's an objection and what's a buying question, whether they're a serious prospect or they're just playing games. You have to understand your business. You have to understand your selling process. You have to understand your audience, your prospects. Again, you're not going to go into a boxing match unless you know who your opponent is. You're just not going to go in there and fight, right? You're going to train for it. You got to understand your weaknesses. You got to understand your skill. You understand how valuable this move is versus that move, right? Does that make sense? So selling's about understanding. Understanding. What else is selling? Here's where a lot of people go wrong. Selling is about being prepared or having preparation. See, there's a business saying preparation meets opportunity, but that's not always true. Or preparation produces results. Well, the right preparation produces the right result. How you train is the way you're going to perform. So if you're preparing wrong, and how can you prepare right unless you understand what you're doing, right? Does that make sense? So selling is about being prepared because it's not easy, especially for a guy like me. Most of my business is over the telephone. When I cold call, they don't know who I am. I know who they are. I'm prepared for them. I did my homework. I understand where I'm going to be able to help them before I take that action. I have the imagination to see that deal happening. I know the story I need to tell them that they need to hear. And I'm going to tell it with conviction. Because that's what a pro does. Does that make sense? So, selling is also about being focused. It's easy today to lose focus with all the gamuts that are out there on social media, all these toys and electronics that are out there. It's easy to lose focus. It just is. But if you're disciplined and you're committed, you're going to be focused. But you can't be focused unless you're disciplined and committed. You just can't. It's impossible. You might focus on the wrong thing, so you have the wrong preparation. People are lazy today. They don't want to do the grind. They think they're above that. It's below them. I love the grind. I'm always going to be in the grind. Whether I make $30 million a year, 100 million, a million, or 1,000, it doesn't matter. I'm always going to be in the grind because the grind is where the value is. The grind is where you sharpen your sword and you keep your skills sharp. I'll never give up the grind. I don't care. My ego is irrelevant. So you have to be focused. Now, in order to stay focused, selling's about starving out all the negative things, starving out all of your distractions, whatever your distractions are. It could be being on social media too much. It could be negative people around you. You got to starve all that out. It could be out the way you think, could be the biggest problem. The number one environment is your mind. And if your mind's not clean or right, and you're not starving out what's going in there that's not productive, or it's not going to get you to your destination, or it's going to help make you lose focus, and not be disciplined, you got to start all that out. Because at the end of the day, you got to answer to yourself. You got to look yourself in the mirror. And you can't be giving excuses, especially if you're the owner and an entrepreneur and you're leading people. So you got to start all of that out. If that means get rid of people, you get rid of people. If they're not going to be part of leading you to that destination, you got to get rid of them, or you got to get rid of whatever it is that's distracting you. Does that make sense? All right. Make sense? All right. What else is selling? I always say this. You may get tired of me here saying it. Selling is a mindset, and closing is an attitude. One is the cause, the other one's the effect. But it all starts in the mind. Selling is a mindset. And I'm here to tell you, as I said earlier in this video, you are a salesperson whether you like it or not. And once you accept that, and the sooner you accept it, the better you will become, not only as a salesperson, but as an entrepreneur and business owner. It'll make a huge difference once you accept it. Like accepting when you're wrong. People can't accept when they're wrong. That's why they can't take correction. But if you could, and you do, watch it. Your game changes tremendously. Absolutely. Okay? So selling's about mindset. Selling's about attitude. It all starts there. That's why I used imagination first. And then I just used mindset and attitude. But at the end, it all starts with how you think. It's going to determine everything else. What else is selling? What else is selling? Selling, I call it TAR, T-A-R. Selling is about transitioning in the selling process. Like, for example, you transition from the opening of a conversation, opening of a call, opening of a text message, then you transition to the body, which is storytelling, then you transition to the close, right? But everything in selling is a transition throughout the whole selling process. They give an objection, you transition to a rebuttal. They ask you a question, you transition to an answer. Right? They have a bad attitude, you got to switch their attitude to a positive attitude. Selling is also about adjustments. You have to adjust to your audience. Sometimes, if I'm talking to like a very analytical prospect that's an engineer, they're very methodical. Usually they're non-emotional. Well, I got to adjust to that. Either I speak their level or their tonality, or if I need them to get emotional and excited because I need to emphasize a certain point, then my job is to adjust to that and get them emotional and excited at a certain point and then bring back to logic. That's transitioning and adjusting to who my audience is. If my audience is very excited and they're easy to sell and they're all emotional, I got to get them back calm through logic. I got to get them to relax a little bit. Right? If someone needs something, but they're resisting, I got to know how to adjust and get them to want it. To want what they need. Because that's how people buy. They either need something or want something. The other thing is pushing or leading the selling process. Sometimes you got to push people. And you can't be afraid of that. But you have to understand what you're doing. You have to be prepared. You got to have conviction. You got to know how to tell the story. Does that make sense? So selling is about transitioning, adjusting or adjustments, and pushing or leading throughout the whole selling process. What else? And here's a final one. There may be some other ones I might have left out, but I think this is quite a few of them. Selling is about influence. We are all influenced in one form or another. Either what people say, what people do, right? Or people's attitude. We are all influenced every day. I know I'm being influenced, but because I do know that I know how to make decisions, whether I'm going to allow that to influence me or not, whether I'm going to take action on that or not. Oh, I will take action. I'll reject it or I'll receive it. But selling is about influence because selling is about communication. I'm communicating to you right now. Hopefully, I did a great job that you received that communication and you took action on it, right? That's what it is. So selling is about influence. So here's the question, guys. Are you ready to commit to yourself, to your business, to becoming a dynamic salesperson, to becoming better at the selling process? Are you committed to building and sharpening these ingredients, these weapons that are available to you? They're free. They're the most valuable things you can do for yourself. They're the most valuable things you can learn and develop because it doesn't cost you anything, but it provides you a whole lot of things. Right? So this is what selling is to me. This is what it takes and what you need to do and what I do every single day to put myself in a position to being a top salesperson, to being able to teach it, to being able to show my students how to do it. Does that make sense? Anyway, guys, if any of you want to learn more and you want to have a one-on-one, just go to my email at www.paulcruzsalesagency.com. Fill out the simple form, basically, and email me. One of my associates will get back within 24 hours, and then we could schedule a one-on-one. But anyway, guys, thank you again for being part of the Paul Cruz Sales Agency, where sales do happen. Again, whatever platform you're watching this video, if you like it, smash the like button, share your comments, share your opinions, let me know what you think. Also, if you're watching this on my YouTube channel, hit the subscription button below, smash that like button, and share the video with others. Till we speak again, I say goodbye for now, and remember this: become a dynamic salesperson and watch your sales grow. Talk to you later. Bye.